Hello there, Ben Bowers, the Spirit Specialist, and despite the fact that I am filming in early October, you'll notice that I've got a rather bright Christmas jumper on, because today I'm here to talk to you about Christmas gin liqueurs in a snow globe form. And we are going to look at the Marks & Spencer's Clementine Gin Liqueur alongside the one that I'm selling in the shop, which is the Snow Globe Orange and Gingerbread Gin Liqueur. So let me shake them up. You'll see hopefully they've been in the fridge, they're chilled, so it's a little bit of condensation on there. If I do that and that, you'll notice, woo, they also light up. Massively popular. M&S Gin Liqueur has been in the papers pretty much constantly since they launched it in September, I think it is. So I bought a bottle myself and I thought, right, I'm selling this particular one, which I think is actually pretty damn good. So let's do a comparison between the two. Now, normally on my review videos, I would do a bit of background information about the brand that I'm talking about, and there'd be some music and some pictures coming up and everything like that. But I'm not Marks & Spencer's and I don't work for them because I own this place. So I'm not going to give you a history of Marks & Spencer's. And the Snow Globe Gin Liqueur that I sell is produced by a company called Gravity Drinks, who I don't have a lot of information about. They look to be like a contract company that make a few brands. They do have a website with a few it's kind of not jokey stuff, but slightly interesting. They do have a vodka in an American football shaped bottle, which looks absolutely amazing. And I actually want to get for my brother-in-law, who is a big NFL fan. But unfortunately, it's only available in the USA. So if anybody from Gravity Drinks is watching, if you can at least get me one bottle that I can give to my brother for Christmas, that would be, not brother-in-law, that would be absolutely amazing. So let's do a comparison between the two. Now, I have tried the two of these already, and I will be doing a separate video with the Snow Globe Gin Liqueur. I struggle to say the word liqueur. I've not even started drinking and I'm already slurring it. I'm going to do another video with this, with a couple of cocktail ideas for Christmas. Because not only does this drink really well on its own, but in Christmassy cocktails, this will definitely work. So I am going to try the Snow Globe first, and you'll probably gather why as I go through the video. So $24.99 I'm selling the Snow Globe for. Most places are about anywhere between 25 to 30 quid. So I'm selling this at $24.99, and the Marks & Spencer's one is 20 quid. They do a Sugar Plum Fairy version as well, but I'm less bothered about that. This is Clementine, that's Orange and Gingerbread. This is the best way of being able to do some kind of comparison. So, just in terms of the look, I'm going to put this down and make sure I forget. So, the one on this side is Marks & Spencer's Orange Clementine, and the one on that side over there is the Snow Globe. So, if I pick up the wrong one, just give us a yell and then I'll swap it over. So, just in terms of, you're obviously thinking like, well, there's £5 difference. It's a Christmassy gin liqueur. Is it really worth that much difference? Okay, so first things first, just on the looks. Now, to be honest, I do think this is a little bit bland. There's no box, so it is literally just that on the shelf. It's sort of, it's orange and brown. There's not really a lot of colour on it. At a distance, it sort of blends into one. It's a bit difficult to kind of see what's in it. There is a gap here so that when you turn the light on, you can see the nutcracker that's on the other side, which ties in with the sugar plum that they do as well. And then obviously, when I can press the button properly, it lights up. There you go. You might be able to see that through there. There's the nutcracker. But it's not the most exciting bottle in the world. The Sugar Plum Fairy one's slightly better because it's white and a bit of purple, whereas this seems a bit one note. The Snow Globe, you do get it in a box. Now this is the second edition. There was one out last year that I opened the 7th of November and I managed to get some stock to put on the shelf and it absolutely flew out. This is one of my biggest sellers at Christmas. It was in a dark blue box, gold writing across the top. It was a sort of, I can't remember the scene on it. In fact, I'll pop up a picture now so that you can see what it used to look like. I think this one looks a lot better. The white box really pops. I love the font on here. I think it looks quite classy, to be honest, for kind of like a big Christmassy, what people would think, oh, it's really tacky. I think it looks actually quite elegant and quite nice. So you get the box with it as well. Okay, that's not a $5's worth of box, but it definitely makes a difference if you're doing gifts. And also, right, I'm going to get the condensation off here. I think, A, it's a globe. Okay, don't call it a snow globe if it's not in a globe shape, although that's kind of the generic term for anything that you shape those up. But it's an actual proper globe shape. And on the picture, you've got some nice deer, you've got a squirrel, I'm not going to make a joke about his nuts, you've got a snowman, you've got the roaring log fire on the back, which with the window just above there, if you light it up. Now, if I do this, it's actually really bright. So you might not be able to see it because I don't think the camera is going to adjust so that you can see the fireplace through there. But you might notice as well, that's pretty damn bright, whereas this one, if I can actually turn it on properly, is quite dull. It's, you know, I'm not saying this is a fiver's worth of LED, but there's definitely more of an impact when this is lit to that. That's really subdued. I don't think the battery is going because I've only turned this on about 4 or 5 times since I've picked the bottle up. Might have been unlucky that I've got a dimmer bulb, but there really is quite a marked difference between that, particularly from a distance. If you've got this on a shelf on a mantelpiece at Christmas when it's dark and windy outside, that's really going to stand out to that. Little things, but you know, it's that sort of thing in terms of a bit more quality, a bit more premium. So, irrespective of all of that nonsense, what about the actual liquid itself? So, gin liqueur, they're all gin liqueurs, Ben, what are you on about? Snowglobe, orange and gingerbread gin liqueur. I'm going to try this one first. So, I've got some of the gold flakes in there. So, this is 24 karat gold flakes in both instances. Doesn't really make a difference to the flavour profile, it just looks pretty. So, on the nose, quite light but surprisingly spicy. There is definitely orange there, but more up front is that gingerbread element. It's warm, it's soft, there's a sort of cinnamon nutmeg element in there, but that gingerbread is definitely forward. The orange is more subdued, the orange is more in the background, but it's still a fresh orange feel to it. But it's very much kind of like a warm, spicy feel. Festive, which is sort of what you want. But definitely on the nose, it's nice and kind of Christmassy, but it's very much gingerbread, warm gingerbread, you know, not kind of dry biscuity gingerbread, more of a warm gingerbread cake. And then the orange is more subdued, almost like it's kind of like studded with orange peel, but it's not upfront orange, definitely. So on the palate, actually quite light. The texture is not particularly sickly sweet at all. Both of them are bottled at 20% ABV. It's light, it's silky, it's quite delicate. And whereas on the nose, it was orange down here, gingerbread up here, on the palate, it sort of swaps over. You get more of a fresh orange feel, and it's like an orange juice. And then the gingerbread is more in the background. The spiciness is there, it's lifting those orange flavors, but it's not as upfront as it was on the nose. Probably for the best, because it might have been a little bit overpowering if it was as intense on the palate as it is on the nose. That oranginess comes through. It's surprisingly light in texture, which makes it ridiculously easy to drink. I think some people might almost think, oh, this is quite watery. And it's not watery, but it's not a rich, sugary, syrupy liqueur. It's very much a lighter, more delicate liqueur, which I think makes this quite versatile for cocktails. I've already tried this in a couple of cocktail experiments with the likes of a French 75. Something like, so French 75 would be gin, simple syrup, egg white, shake that up so it goes nice and frothy, then top it up with champagne. You don't necessarily need the simple syrup because you've got the sweetness of the liqueur, but an egg white, even if it's just that, to save mucking about with eggs, you can get those egg whites in a carton, a little bit of that in to get that frothy, creamy texture. You almost could just get away with a shot of this and top it up with champagne. You're going to get that fruitiness coming through. You're going to get that spiciness from the gingerbread, that warm, soft spice coming through, and it's going to work really, really well. And you've got some sweetness in there, but because it's not syrupy sweet, you can actually do this with maybe not a demi-sec, that's going to maybe go a little bit too sweet overall, but just a standard Prosecco, a really good champagne with a dash of this in. You're going to get your gold flakes floating around the place within the bubbles. You're going to get a nice orange and sweet feel to it as well. Very, very drinkable, dangerously drinkable. Okay, so let's move to the Marks and Spencers, the Clementine it's not a ginger, Clementine Gin Liqueur. So again, gold flakes in there. No difference. It's not like I'm doing a comparison to the gold flakes. It's like, oh, these are much bigger flakes than this one. That's why it's £5 more. So on the nose, So there's no spiciness there because it is clementine. And to be fair, give it credit, it does smell like clementines. Clementines are like a lighter, not as orangey orange feel. They're much juicier, they're much lighter, almost, you could argue, a little bit fragrant. And it's very much there on the nose. It's very, very pleasant. It's quite light though, and it sort of dies off. You've got the orange, you've got the clementine, and then that disappears and there's nothing else. Whereas with the orange and gingerbread, you've got some orange, which is actually coming after that gingerbread feel that you get initially. With this, it's clementine, and then that's it. Right, on the palate. Instantly, much, much thicker. Thicker, syrupier, and actually a little bit artificial. The clementine element that's on the nose, which does actually nose like fresh clementines, because of the syrupiness, and it feels like, as opposed to a sugar solution, it's almost like an artificial sweetener. There's a slight artificiality which turns that initial fresh clementine on the nose into orange squash concentrate on the palate. It really does taste like slightly diluted, not even a brand name orange squash like Robinson's. It tastes like supermarket own label orange squash concentrate. It really reminds me of being at a kid's party and having that big jug of orange squash that tends to get dished out, and it's not particularly good orange squash because I don't really want to spend any money on it. It's got elements of that in. It's not massively artificial. It's still drinkable, it's still pleasant. There's just a slight off note to it. And it's so syrupy. It's really, really almost sickly, to the point where I would not, the Snow Globe orange and gingerbread is almost too easy to drink. This is going to become quite sickly if you're just drinking this on its own. And it's so sweet that if you were to put it in something like the Christmas French 75, you're going to need a really dry, like an ultra brut champagne or a really, really dry Prosecco, because this is going to overly sweeten everything. And I think actually, because it's just clementine and on the palate it's got that orange squashy element, it's actually going to disappear. It's kind of one note. You don't have that extra dimension of the gingerbread spiciness to take it in a slightly different direction and give you something else. To be honest, this, if it didn't have that gingerbread element, would almost be too light. The orange element in here would be too light that if you put it with champagne, it's just going to disappear, and it would be the same with that. But because you've got that gingerbread spice feel to it, that actually gives it something else to make things more interesting. This is kind of just a bit one note. Now, because of its sweetness, because of its syrupy feel to it, there are absolutely people that are going to go, oh, this is just what I wanted. It's Christmas, you want sickly sweet things, you want decadence, you want unctuous, rich, sweet flavours all the way through. And I can absolutely get why this is so popular. But arguably, this is much more interesting and much more versatile. You can do a lot more with this. You can absolutely play around with cocktails and the flavour profile within. Whereas this, the Marks and Spencer's, is just sweet and sugary, and the clementine element that's there, I really like that nose. I absolutely love that nose because it does exactly what it says on the tin. It is clementines. But drinking it, it's just, and you need this chilled. The warmer this gets, the sweeter and sicklier it is going to be. Whereas if I go back to the Snow Globe orange and gingerbread, the reason I tried this first, and I'm glad I did the very first time. Now, instantly, I'm getting more from this. I'm getting the orange, but straight away, I've got that ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg feel, which is lingering. It gives you a finish. The Marks and Spencer's is one flavour, dies. That's it. And you just get sweet sugar and nothing else. Whereas this actually has something that's still giving. I can still taste the gingeriness in it now, after a minute or so of talking. There's more versatility to it. There's more interest to it. I do think it definitely looks better, and you get a box with it. So I do think it's worth paying the extra. It's Christmas. Treat yourself. It's been a crappy 18 months, 2 years. So, you know, for an extra £5, I would much rather go for the liqueur that's in a box, if you're going to give it away, that looks better, that lights up better, and arguably tastes a lot better. If you want something really sugary sweet, then the Marks and Spencer's will absolutely do the trick. And it's 20 quid, you don't have to think about it. But if you're looking for something Christmassy that you want to play around with and you want to do something different, or if you got friends coming round, both of them, to be fair, would be absolutely fine. If you've got friends going, oh, I've got this gin liqueur, it's in this fancy bottle, you know, try it. Nobody's going to dislike this. They were never going to be massively complex liqueurs with really unusual flavours in, because you want as many people to drink this as you possibly can. But even if you're going to go as mainstream as you can, at least make it interesting. At least make it something slightly unusual that people go, oh yeah, oh, I do actually get the gingerbread. Oh, that's actually works really well. And it gives you that extra festive feel. Clementine's very, very festive, but so is cinnamon and nutmeg and ginger and warm spiced feels. So it's as Christmassy, if not slightly more so. Anyway, the Snowglobe Orange and Gingerbread Gin Liqueur is available through the website www. See, now I've had a couple of shots, I can't even say www.spiritspecialist.com, $24.99 plus shipping charges, unless you want to come into the shop. I do have a bottle open, so if you're coming into the shop and you did want to try it, you're more than welcome. The M&S is 20 quid at M&S, but I'm not going to give you M&S's website because I have nothing to do with them, and I'd rather you go to mine and buy the Snowglobe. Very, very festive. There will be a video coming up a bit later, whenever I've got round to actually doing the cocktails, to give you some cocktail ideas. But it's a great Christmas present, and it's a lovely festive treat as well, and I highly, highly recommend it. It is not as bad as you think it is going to be. In fact, it's better. It will surprise you, and it will surprise your friends. So, that's me done. Merry Christmas to you, even though it's October, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.